Well, with the plane leaving, that means only one thing. Our week 2 of hunters have arrived, and the plane is leaving with our first week of hunters aboard. This week number 2 should be an interesting week, if the first week is any indication of the action we're going to have. We had a lot of footage the first week of different animal sightings, and looking forward to starting the second week of the hunt. Looking back on that first week up at Broken Horn, Scott was having a little bit of action. He was able to tag out early during the first week with Chuck, and they had already brought their moose back to Billard Lake. So on his way back up to Broken Horn, he was doing a little bit of scouting along the river and encountered this young bull swimming across the river. So he decided to stop and have a little bit of fun with him. With these bulls roaming around in the area, it helps us figure out a little bit of a game plan for the hunt, for the next hunter coming into camp. Most of these bulls are on the lookout for any cows that might be coming into heat, and they're roaming up and down these shorelines, checking for sign and doing a little bit of calling, see if they get any response. On the morning of week 2, when Scott's hunter was to arrive in camp, he had a bull grunting in behind his tent, and he heard it moving down towards the river, so he decided to walk down with his camera and see where that bull was headed. He started to have a little bit of action.
I don't know if you can see what's going on, but that bull went over to another bull. We have a little battle royal going on here. Kind of far across the lake, okay, that's half mile. There's 2 bulls right there. Boy, less than an hour now, my hunter will be coming in. This is gonna be awesome. I don't know if you can hear him. But they are not happy with each other. Whoa, one just smashed the other one. We got our moose over here, and we got our otter in the sky. Let's see how these big boys are gonna react. Wow, this is something. The hunter's on the plane. When they circle, they're gonna see these moose. He's gonna come unglued. But we will see. All right, here comes our otter. Nice smooth landing. Once again, we'll leave those moose alone, and I'll help my man get unloaded.
Next morning they got up bright and early, headed out on the river. This is an ideal day. It's pretty calm and you can see the mist on the water. This is the ideal day for calling moose. So you do your calls and wait and be patient. You never know what's going to happen.
I see them. I can just see pieces of them. I can't see horns. You ready? He's gonna come around for a wind. I'll tell you, if he's good enough, he'll be close.
Well, unfortunately this bull never did show himself. Although he was only a few yards out in front of the guys. He didn't want to come out in the open. They could hear him raking bushes and grunting. But for some reason he never wanted to come out in the open. So they continued hunting the rest of the week and had several encounters. Had lots of bull sightings. Unfortunately, they never did see that 50-inch bull that the hunter wanted to take. The only good thing to come out of this is that all the bulls that they did see this week will only be bigger next year. Maybe he'll be back for another hunt and be able to harvest one of those 50 inchers that he was looking for. Because of all the video that was submitted for the second week of the hunt, I decided to break each hunt down individually. It seemed like a shame not to utilize all the video that we had. We had some pretty good footage. So on the first day of the hunt, Downriver, I headed back to my burnt hill with my hunter. While we were on the hill, we spotted a bull again across the river, down in the willows, moving his way to the north along the shoreline. Tried to cut him off. We went around the big island and tried to swing in on him.
But this bull that we spotted on shore didn't give us an opportunity to come in close enough for a bow shot because he was with a cow. I couldn't call him away from that cow.
It was pretty hard to get within bow range here, so he opted to use his rifle. Brought the rifle along just in case he didn't get an opportunity with his bow and arrow, and it was a good choice.
We can't get much closer.
So we did a little bit of a sneak here. We put in on a little creek and got out of the boat and decided to sneak in on this bull. We could tell the way this bull was curling up his upper lip that this cow was coming into estrus, and there was no way we were going to draw that bull away from that cow.
He's head on. Don't shoot the cow. She's right behind him. Don't shoot. Okay, get ready. She's moving. Behind the shoulder. Shoot again. Shoot him again. Shoot him again. Just wait. Take him again. No, you didn't hit him. You didn't hit him. Take your time. He doesn't know what it is. Just wait. There he goes. He's stumbling. The cow is still out to our left. The bull is laying down in the grass over here. Way to go, buddy. We were doing a bit of a stalk here through all these willows and the grass here, and out of breath and shaking, so took several attempts to make a clean shot on him, but he didn't want to shoot because he was shaking so bad. So he did the right thing. We snuck into 87 yards, and he got down on one knee and took the shot from there, broadside. Oh yeah, beauty, beautiful.
For sure. Got some good mass to him.
Yeah.
A lot of points. That's what I could see.
This side's got 3 on the front on this side.
Yeah.
On his left side.
Yep. The left side.
Yeah.
Very cool. There's no just standing there, something moving it either.
Very nice.
Well, that was good. It was a good bull. Glad we saw him and we came around with a decent stalk. And the work is about to begin.
Yeah.
What a great bull.
We'll take some photos here right away. We'll get it set up and take some nice photographs.
Bet.
Okay.
Well, we went back to camp, and just when we were pulling the boat up on shore, Brian and his hunter were coming from the other direction, and it turned out that they also had shot a moose and had a moose down. So we decided we would go back to our moose first and get that one out, and then head downriver and go work on Brian's moose. But when we were pulling the boat into shore, I twisted my right ankle and actually sprained it. So I talked to Brian, and he said he would go back to main camp and get Lyle, come back to give us a hand to carry this thing out, because we had a fair carry to take all this meat back to the boat. So while Brian was gone to main camp to get Lyle, the 2 hunters and myself, we started working on this moose, and we had to pose it and get it set up so we could take some pictures first before we started skinning it and working on it. So once we got the pictures done, and I started working on the cape.
Yeah, but it's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. I'm not complaining.
I'll just turn back on.
There's just an on-off switch. It looks like it's on.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Smile at the camera, Wayne. Well, just to show that you do work after you get your moose, you know. Yeah. It's more than just hunting here. Everybody pitches in and gives a hand. We got Brian and Lyle over here, and Jim and Wayne. Sometimes the cameraman helps.
We need one more.
Hey Wayne, the boat's the other way.
Huh?
The boat's the other way.
Well, I had to get one picture so I remind myself next time if I want to do this or not.
Perfect.
Okay, see you next week.
Okay.
See what the outfitter does?
This is what the outfitter does.
For his
He
guys?
doesn't just sit in camp and drink beer. He comes out here and helps.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah. Thanks, Lyle. Yeah. And we have a bit of a carry here.
Well, it took a while to get everything back to the boat, but with Lyle's help and both the hunters helping and Brian, me doing my little bit, we headed downriver and pulled up on Brian's moose. They were standing up in the bush in the back there and had called this moose off of the island, and it swam across the river. And when it got into shallow water, Brian's hunter shot it here, and so I had my hip waders on, and I was able to get in beside the moose here and tie a rope onto it. And 4 of them pulled the moose into shallower water. I was pushing on it, and they were pulling.
Hey, what are you doing over there? You're checking the depth of the water. It's cold there too, you know.
Well, after a little bit of hijinks, we got the moose loaded in the boat. So we headed back to the main camp. We were able to take the moose meat and Lyle and take him back to the main camp and get back to our camp by dark. Well, now Brian and I were both tagged out with our hunters, so his hunter still had a bear tag, which allowed him to shoot either a bear or a wolf. And while my hunter and I were scouting and looking at bear baits and checking out the kill sites, we came across this bull over by Twin Lakes. Lyle still had 2 hunters in camp waiting to score, and Jimmy was up at the Rapids camp with his hunter still waiting to get a moose. We did quite a bit of exploring. We headed down river to the extreme end of our area, hunting area. We were heading in behind the big island, right across from our camp area, up through the channel. And although it was starting to get dark, you could see the moon off in the distance here. I could see a bull moose standing in the bay way at the far end. So I decided to see if we could sneak in with the boat and get a better look at him in case he was a shootable bull for the next day. Could get on the radio and let the guys back at the main camp and at the Rapids camp know that we had a good bull in the area. So we headed up into the bay here and snuck in pretty close to this bull, and we just sat there and drifted and watched him as he started coming towards us. He was curious again. Like I say, they haven't never seen a human being. Seeing that our hunters had tagged out so early, basically the first day of the hunt, we asked them if they wanted to see what it's like to hunt over a decoy. So we went about a mile north of our camp along the side and took the decoy with us. So Brian and I took his decoy and we set it up in this clearing just north of our camp. And I set up the camera and Brian went through his calling ritual. He has a set of antlers that he made out of plywood here, and to simulate a bull walking through the grass with his grunting and rocking his body and head from side to side. Also, you can use these plywood antlers to rake the bushes. So we went north of camp here, like I said, and wanted to see if we could get any action. So we were set up perfect, and it didn't take too long. Just out of nowhere, this bull materialized. He came out of the willows out of the right side and caught us a little bit by surprise. So he was watching us and watching Brian. We were hidden behind the willows pretty good, so he couldn't really see us. And we figured we'd play with him a little bit, so Brian was doing some calling, and I had a shoulder blade with me that I use for raking the bushes. It simulates an antler on the bush. So I started raking the bushes, and we had the decoy up, Brian doing his little bit of cow calling, and got this bull pretty interested. He wanted to come over and see us. This was a very nice bull. He was in that 60-inch range, and he was definitely interested in this cow decoy and the calling. And I kind of think that he felt a little bit challenged here because of the raking on the bushes and everything. You could tell he was a very mature bull, a real veteran. Anytime you see them rocking their head back and forth like this, it's a posturing, just to display their antlers to another bull if they feel challenged. He was just showing his size by rocking his head back and forth and doing a display. This bull's attention was totally towards me. I was doing the raking with the shoulder blade on the bushes, and he felt I was the challenging bull. So he's staring at me. I was behind the bush and I had my camera tripod set up in front of me, and he started walking and got to within 20 or 30 yards from me. The two hunters were out to my right behind the willows, and they were taking still shots with their cameras, and their cameras were making noise. This bull wasn't sure what kind of bull I was because I wasn't displaying my antler. So he started getting a little bit nervous and wasn't sure what to do. We thought this bull was taking off, so Brian did a series of cow calls and got him to stop again. And I started raking the bushes. Didn't realize till later that there was a cow and a calf in the bushes here, and that's probably why he wasn't too anxious to fight. He was just displaying his antlers before. But with Brian doing the calls and me doing the raking, that cow and the calf decided that maybe they should come out and take a look and see what all the noise was all about. So that bull just stood there, kept looking back at the decoy, and it didn't take too long, and he started having a little more action. This is the kind of action you want to have when you're doing the hunt. With a big mature bull like this and cow and a calf together, this would have been a perfect hunting scenario. But with the camera noise and all of us standing in the willows here, the cow and the calf I think got wind of us. The wind was swirling around quite a bit and decided to take off, and once they left, that bull wasn't going to stick around any longer. So it was fun. It was a lot of action and nice to have on camera. Well, after a pretty exciting few days with action with moose and not having too much action with bears and wolves, we decided to pack up our camp and take everything back to the main camp. So in the morning we got up and tore everything down and loaded up both boats, headed back to Billard Lake to the main camp. There was plenty of accommodations there for us to stay for the next couple of days, and plus we had a plane coming in that required help loading. And it would give the opportunity for the hunters to do a little bit of fishing back at main camp to catch some walleye. After we got everything unloaded at main camp, Jimmy showed up with his hunter. He came down to Billard Lake from his camp. They got lucky in the morning and had shot a bull quite a ways upriver.
Lots of clay on the side of the hill there. So he's up on top?
Yeah, right underneath the vest.
Okay.
Did you see the red dot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was he standing when you shot him?
Right here.
So get over by your moose here so I can get a picture of you.
Okay. Come at it from this side.
We'll get his rack up a little bit better than what it is, but right now I just want to get you in the video a little bit.
We got this bull
But
we got 10:30 this morning.
I got enough game bags to start.
And I'm from Lewiston, New York, and this is day 6 of my hunt. And the happiest can be over this moose. Jim saw him. He got a shot on the shoreline, and he ended up running up here, and we finished him off up here. Now we got a lot of work to get him back to the boat, but certainly worth it.
Well, after chainsawing all the deadfall out of the way and making room so we could work on this moose, everybody pitches in. It definitely helps when you have extra hands when you're working on an animal this size.
Get up, get hit again, and keep on going.
So after getting it all quartered up and everything, and we had to cut a trail through the trees here to get down to the boat, just the easier access down the side of the hill. And it was nice having Russ along, a young fellow like that. And nice strong back, so he packed basically all the moose, all the quarters and meat and everything. He loaded on the pack frame, and we got it all loaded into the boat and distributed the weight in the boat. After getting Jimmy and his hunter back to their camp, we kept the moose in our boat and loaded Russ into the boat. And we headed back to Billard Lake, back to our camp, as we knew we had a plane coming in the next day. So the next morning we had quite a bit of gear to load. Plane came in pretty well empty, except for a bunch of cans of fuel, 5-gallon jerry cans. He also brought in a few bags of oats. All of this would be for supplies for next year, for next season's moose hunt. So we had all the gear, all the moose and everything down by the water, waiting for the plane to come in. And when he came in, we unloaded all the gas cans, and then we had to unload all the oat bags. Once we carried those up, we took all of the moose meat was the next thing to go onto the plane. Get all that loaded. It was nice to have so many sets of hands to help with unloading and loading this plane. So my ankle was still bothering me quite a bit. So Russ and our two hunters helped us load everything, and Russ and the hunters were going to head back a day early, take advantage of having this flight that was in. The plane actually came in to pick up the moose meat, but the hunters volunteered to fly out a day early, seeing that their hunt was basically over. Plane hadn't been gone too long on the flight back to Thompson when we heard a boat coming from the Downriver direction. It was either Lyle and his hunters, they just hadn't seen nothing and decided to come back, or tagged out. It turned out to be the latter of the two. So as we watched his boat approach, we could see that they had a moose sitting in the front of the boat. It was nice to see the decision Lyle made that morning was the right one. So one of the fellows scored on a bull here, and it looked like a pretty decent bull. They were getting down to the wire with the last day of the hunt, and as the boat was approaching here, Brian and I were trying to figure out if we had seen this bull before. We were trying to see if we could recognize the rack. During the week we had quite a few sightings, so we were anxious to hear the story on how they got this bull and exactly what stretch of the river they got it in. It's been a long hunt for the fellows, so it's nice to see that they finally did connect. They had a lot of action during the week and got some pretty good video footage.
Whoop. I'm good. Okay, you can...
We're all set up. We had the decoy out. Wayne and I were back in the bush a little ways. Lyle was back by the decoy, hunkered down, making his call. Of course, we were looking a different direction, but Lyle would give us his whippoorwill sign, so Wayne went out and looked, see what was coming, and I was following behind him. And I couldn't see anything, and Wayne started motioning in the water, and here was this thing swimming across that channel. And I heard from the background, "Take the shot." And I started shooting, and luckily I brought extra shells, and I dug into them and I kept shooting. And he disappeared into the willows. Dropped Wayne off to get on his trail and take the beating in case he didn't feel it. So Lyle and I went around the island waiting for all that to happen, so we circled around. We come back and here come Wayne down to the edge. He was kind of trotting, and Lyle said, "Well, that's a good sign." And Wayne said, "Well, he swam to the other side." Of course, me, I believe that. You know, I don't know that these things are supposed to be funny. We come walking in, we're probably 300 yards, 400 yards from the water's edge. He laid here thinking about getting up, but there wasn't much left in him.
And that was pretty well the end of it.
That was pretty well the end of it, yeah.
And now
here he
now
is.
you got to carry him back out.
Now I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing. I think if one guy grabs each horn, then I kind of coax him along. We get something wet here to slide him on, like a slip and slide.
Maybe drag him back to the boat.
He's a load.
Well, what do you think of that?
This gets a little exciting. Except for when they went in the willows.
We got lots of work here yet to do
It might be a late night.
Now we just got to make sure we get everything in the boat. All Dan wants to do is play with the horns.
They look all right. Not too much restriction, would it be, Lyle? What's that? This wouldn't be too much restriction for getting back?
No, I don't think so.
We'll have to do something with them because they won't sit inside the boat.
Is
Unless
that
we
a
put them
boat
in there
full?
sideways.
Don't drop them over the edge of the boat, whatever you do.
Oh, that
6.5 miles an hour, about half the speed you're going.
well,
Time to go back. There's a flight leaving tonight. I'm on it.
They got some good footage with Dan's moose and a lot more action than they bargained for. So being the last day, there's a lot of work to do. Get Dan's moose up to the meat pole and get it hung up for nighttime. We had a plane coming in the next day, and fellows would be flying out. We still had guys at the Rapids camp and Broken Horn camp that had to fly in yet. So Dan and Wayne were, looks like Wayne got the short end of the stick here. He had all the weight on that gurney sitting at his end of it. But it was a lot of fun. The guys had a pretty good trip. It's time to unwind and just relax for the evening. Get ready for the flights going out tomorrow.